The Napa Valley sun dipped low, casting a golden glow across a sprawling 100-acre estate, where the air, a balmy 75-degree, carried the faint perfume of Pinot Noir grapes and blooming jasmine. The evening was alive with the hum of wealth, a symphony of clinking wine glasses and murmured boasts as America's elite gathered for a charity gala in a 15,000-square-foot mansion that seemed to rise from the earth like a monument to opulence. Crystal chandeliers glittered above marble floors, their light dancing on gold-trimmed invitations that promised more than just a night of decadence. This was a curated spectacle to raise millions for pediatric cancer research, a cause that, for all its nobility, was often overshadowed by the egos it attracted. Tech moguls in tailored Tom Ford suits, Hollywood starlets draped in Dior gowns, and influencers with million-strong TikTok followings milled about, their laughter as polished as the 200-foot vineyard views stretching beyond the estate's manicured lawns. The event was a microcosm of American ambition, where wealth was not just displayed, but performed, each guest vying for a spotlight under the canopy of string lights that twinkled like stars against the California dusk. Into this sea of extravagance stepped Keanu Reeves, a figure so unassuming he seemed to belong to another world entirely. He arrived not in a chauffeured Tesla or a sleek Rolls-Royce, but in a modest Subaru Outback, its faded silver paint scuffed from years of unpretentious use. Dressed in a worn denim jacket, the kind you'd find in a thrift store for $15, faded jeans that hugged his frame with comfortable ease, and a scuffed baseball cap pulled low over his eyes, Keanu carried nothing but a simple canvas backpack slung over one shoulder. His graying beard and quiet stride spoke of a man who needed no entourage, no fanfare, no validation from the glittering crowd. Yet, to the eyes of those accustomed to measuring worth in designer labels and social clout, he was an anomaly, a smudge on the polished surface of their curated world. As he stepped onto the cobblestone path leading to the mansion's grand entrance, heads turned, not in recognition, but in judgment, their whispers sharp as the evening breeze that rustled the vineyard's leaves. At the check-in station, a sleek glass table adorned with orchids and a tablet displaying the VIP list, Emily Harper, the coordinator, stood with the practiced poise of someone accustomed to serving the ultra-wealthy. Her silk dress shimmered under the soft glow of lanterns, and her gold-plated name tag gleamed as brightly as her rehearsed smile. But as Keanu approached, his boots scuffing lightly against the stone, her expression faltered, a flicker of confusion crossing her face before she regained her composure. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice smooth, but edged with skepticism. "May I have your name?" She glanced at the tablet, already certain he wouldn't be listed among the elite. "Keanu Reeves," he replied, his voice low and unassuming, carrying the calm of someone who spoke only when necessary. Emily's fingers hesitated over the screen, scrolling twice, her brow furrowing. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, her tone stiffening. "I don't see your name on the registry. This is the VIP check-in for the gala. Are you sure you're in the right place?" Before Keanu could respond, a sharp laugh cut through the air, as piercing as the clink of a 200-a-bottle Napa Valley Cabernet against a crystal flute. Lauren Prescott, a venture capitalist whose TikTok empire boasted millions of followers, strutted forward, her stiletto heels clicking like a metronome of entitlement. Her emerald green Versace gown hugged her frame, and her diamond earrings caught the light like tiny chandeliers. "Did you take a wrong turn at the gas station?" she quipped, loud enough for the nearby crowd to turn and snicker. Her entourage, a mix of influencers and hedge fund bros, erupted in laughter, their phones already raised to capture the moment. One snapped a photo, captioning it, "Spotted Napa's newest vineyard worker, or gala fails." Lauren's smirk widened as she leaned toward Emily, her voice dripping with mock pity. "Maybe he's here to park the cars, Em." Should we get him a valet vest? The crowd's laughter swelled, a chorus of condescension that echoed across the estate's manicured lawns, where the scent of jasmine mingled with the tang of wealth. Keanu stood still, his posture relaxed, his eyes tracing the horizon where the vineyard's 50-acre expanse melted into the twilight. He didn't flinch, didn't bristle, didn't offer a defense. His silence was not weakness, but a quiet strength, a refusal to engage with a game he had no interest in playing. Yet the crowd saw only what they wanted: a man out of place, a trespasser in their gilded sanctuary. Emily, emboldened by Lauren's presence, gestured toward a waiting area, shaded by a canopy of vines. "If you could step aside, sir, while we verify your information," she said, the word "sir" hollow, a formality stripped of respect. Keanu nodded once, his canvas backpack shifting slightly as he moved to the side, letting the procession of glittering guests pass. Their perfumes lingered longer than their glances, and no one offered him a seat or a drink. A young influencer in a Gucci tracksuit whispered to her friend, "Is this a charity case they let in by mistake?" Her companion giggled, posting the moment to Instagram with a caption that read, "When you crash a $15,000 a plate party." Awkward. The stage was set, not just for a night of fundraising, but for a collision of values. Humility against hubris, heart against pretense. Keanu's presence, unassuming yet unshakable, disrupted the rhythm of a crowd obsessed with appearances, their judgments as fleeting as the Napa breeze. The gala's cause, pediatric cancer research, carried a weight Keanu understood deeply, a cause tied to a childhood friend he'd lost, though he'd never speak of it publicly. His arrival in a Subaru, his worn denim jacket, his quiet demeanor, they weren't accidents but choices, reflections of a man who valued substance over show. As the evening unfolded, the laughter would fade, the smirks would falter, and the truth would emerge, not in a shout, but in a whisper, revealing the fragility of wealth and the enduring power of dignity. In America's heartland of ambition, where Napa's vines stretched under a starlit sky, Keanu Reeves stood ready to teach a lesson no one saw coming. As the Napa Valley Gala's cocktail hour unfolded, the 100-acre estate buzzed with the energy of America's elite, their laughter mingling with the clink of $200 a bottle wine glasses under a canopy of twinkling string lights. The air, warm at 75 degrees, carried the scent of jasmine and freshly poured Napa Valley Chardonnay, a sensory symphony that underscored the exclusivity of the evening. Guests in tailored suits and shimmering gowns wove through the 15,000-square-foot mansion's outdoor pavilion, their conversations a blend of Silicon Valley bravado and Hollywood gossip. Amid this glittering crowd, Keanu Reeves moved quietly, a solitary figure in his worn denim jacket, faded jeans, and scuffed baseball cap. His canvas backpack, slung loosely over one shoulder, seemed as out of place as a thrift store find in a Rodeo Drive boutique. To the untrained eye, he was invisible, until his simplicity drew attention, not for admiration, but for scorn. Lauren Prescott, a venture capitalist whose TikTok empire boasted 2 million followers, spotted Keanu near a marble fountain, his unassuming presence a stark contrast to the polished crowd. Her emerald green Versace gown swayed as she raised her phone, filming a quick video with a smirk. "Spotted Napa's newest vineyard worker," she narrated, her voice dripping with mockery as she posted it to her followers. The caption landed like a dart, earning a flurry of laughing emojis and comments like, "Lost his way to the farm stand," nearby. Ethan Cole, a hedge fund manager with a Rolex glinting on his wrist, leaned toward his entourage, his voice loud enough to carry across the 50-acre vineyard view. "Is he here to park the cars?" he quipped, his laugh sharp and deliberate, drawing chuckles from a cluster of tech bros sipping craft cocktails. The mockery spread like wildfire, each guest eager to prove their place in this curated hierarchy by dismissing the man who didn't fit. Keanu, unfazed, stood near a wooden railing overlooking the sprawling vineyard, its 50 acres stretching into the twilight like a canvas of green and gold. He sipped water from a plain paper cup, his eyes tracing the horizon where the hills met the sky, as if the petty jabs were as fleeting as the evening breeze. His calm was not resignation, but a quiet strength, a refusal to play a game defined by appearances. Nearby, Mia Torres, a young Latina caterer in a crisp black uniform, paused while balancing a tray of smoked salmon canapes. She whispered to her colleague Javier, her brow furrowed with recognition. "He looks like that guy who donated to my kid's hospital last year," she said, her voice low but earnest. "The one who paid for the new cancer wing?" Javier shrugged, adjusting his tray. "Nah, Mia, that's just some dude who wandered in. Look at him, no way he's on the list." Keanu, catching their hushed exchange, offered a faint smile, almost imperceptible, but said nothing, his silence a shield against the crowd's judgment. The pavilion's atmosphere grew denser, the clink of glasses and hum of jazz from a live band, underscoring the exclusivity that Lauren and Ethan thrived on. Lauren, emboldened by her viral post, sauntered closer to Keanu, her stilettos clicking like a countdown. "You know," she said, loud enough for nearby guests to turn, "this isn't a dive bar. You might want to check the dress code next time." Her entourage snickered, phones still raised, capturing every moment of the spectacle. Keanu met her gaze, his eyes steady but kind, and said nothing, letting the weight of her words dissolve in the warm Napa air. His silence unnerved her, a crack in her confidence, but she masked it with another smirk, turning back to her followers. Yet in that moment, Keanu's presence began to ripple, a quiet disruption in a world obsessed with noise, setting the stage for a truth that would soon unravel the illusions of wealth and status. The Napa Valley Gala transitioned into a lavish dinner, the 15,000-square-foot mansion's grand dining hall aglow with the flicker of crystal chandeliers and the clink of fine china. Tables draped in white linen groaned under platters of Maine lobster, drizzled with truffle butter, and glasses brimming with Napa Valley Cabernet, each bottle priced at $300. The air, still a balmy 75 degrees, carried the rich aroma of seared wagyu and the faint sweetness of jasmine drifting in from the 100-acre estate's gardens. The crowd, a tapestry of America's elite, tech titans, Hollywood insiders, and influencers, basked in the opulence, their laughter sharp and performative, a soundtrack to their carefully curated status. Keanu Reeves, still in his worn denim jacket, faded jeans, and scuffed baseball cap, sat alone at a corner table near a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the vineyard's 50-acre expanse. His presence, quiet and unassuming, was a silent disruption, a pebble in the polished machinery of the gala's exclusivity. Lauren Prescott, her emerald green Versace gown catching the chandelier's light, seized the moment to amplify her earlier mockery. Her TikTok following of 2 million fueled her confidence as she strode toward Keanu's table, her stilettos clicking like a countdown on the marble floor. "This is a $15,000 a plate event," she sneered, her voice carrying across the dining hall, drawing eyes from every corner. "You're crashing the wrong party, denim guy." The crowd erupted in laughter, phones raised to capture the spectacle, their flashes glinting like paparazzi cameras at a Hollywood premiere. Ethan Cole, the hedge fund manager, with a Rolex as loud as his bravado, leaned back in his chair, sipping Cabernet. "Maybe he's here to sweep the floors," he called out, his grin wide and cruel, sparking another wave of chuckles. The dining hall, a 5,000-square-foot sea of wealth, seemed to close in on Keanu, each laugh a brick in an invisible wall of exclusion. Keanu, undisturbed, set down his water glass, his eyes tracing the vineyard's moonlit rows beyond the window. He looked up at Lauren, his gaze steady and kind, and spoke softly. "Money buys a seat, but only heart fills it." The words, simple yet piercing, landed like a stone in still water, rippling through the room. Lauren's smirk faltered, her confidence cracking for a moment, though she quickly masked it with a toss of her hair and a dismissive laugh. "Cute philosophy," she shot back, turning to her entourage for validation. But the air had shifted. Her taunt, meant to cement her dominance, felt hollow against Keanu's quiet conviction. The crowd's laughter faded slightly, some guests shifting uncomfortably, their wine glasses suddenly heavier in their hands. Across the room, Jake Nguyen, a teenage guest in a rented suit that hung awkwardly on his lanky frame, watched the exchange closely. Jake, who had felt out of place among the gala's elite, his family's modest background a stark contrast to the wealth around him, saw something in Keanu's calm, a strength he envied. The crowd's cruelty, led by Lauren and Ethan, stirred a quiet unease in him. Why mock someone who hadn't fought back? Jake's eyes lingered on Keanu, who folded his napkin with deliberate care, his movements unhurried, as if the insults were mere background noise. Nearby, Mia Torres, the Latina caterer from the cocktail hour, paused while refilling a water pitcher, her earlier suspicion about Keanu's identity growing stronger. She whispered to a colleague, "He's too calm for this. I swear he's more than he looks." Keanu's words echoed in Jake's mind, planting a seed of doubt about the crowd's values, a spark of empathy in a boy who knew what it felt to be invisible. The dining hall's opulence, its 20-foot ceilings, gold-trimmed plates, and jazz band playing softly, felt suddenly fragile, as if Keanu's presence exposed a truth the guests weren't ready to face. Lauren returned to her table, her smirk intact but her confidence shaken, while Ethan raised his glass in a mock toast, unaware that the night's true reckoning was yet to come. Keanu, still seated, gazed at the vineyard, his silence a mirror reflecting the crowd's shallowness, setting the stage for a revelation that would unravel their illusions. The Napa Valley Gala reached its zenith as the auction commenced in the 15,000-square-foot mansion's grand dining hall, its 20-foot ceilings aglow with the shimmer of crystal chandeliers. The scent of Maine lobster and 300-a-bottle Napa Valley Cabernet lingered in the air, now cooling to 70 degrees as the evening deepened. Tables, draped in white linen, sparkled with gold-trimmed plates, reflecting the wealth of America's elite, tech moguls, Hollywood stars, and influencers, who leaned forward in anticipation. Lauren Prescott, her emerald green Versace gown catching every light, took the stage, her confidence buoyed by her 2 million TikTok followers. "I pledge $75,000 for pediatric cancer research," she declared, pausing to bask in the thunderous applause, her diamond earrings glinting like tiny spotlights. Then, with a smirk, she pointed toward Keanu Reeves, seated alone at his corner table in his worn denim jacket, faded jeans, and scuffed baseball cap. "Maybe our friend in denim can spare a dime," she quipped, her voice slicing through the 5,000-square-foot hall. The crowd erupted in laughter, phones flashing to capture the moment, as Ethan Cole, the hedge fund manager, raised his glass, chuckling. "Yeah, maybe he's got a quarter in that backpack." The laughter halted abruptly as the gala host, a poised woman in a midnight blue gown, stepped to the podium, her voice clear and resonant. "Before we continue," she said, "we must honor an anonymous donor who funded half the costs of this 100-acre estate's gala and pledged $5 million for pediatric cancer research in memory of a childhood friend lost to the disease." The room stilled, glasses frozen mid-sip. She smiled warmly, her gaze shifting to Keanu. "Please welcome Keanu Reeves, the man whose generosity made this night possible." Keanu rose, his denim jacket unchanged, and stepped into the spotlight, his canvas backpack left quietly at his table. The silence was deafening, a collective intake of breath as the crowd processed the revelation. Lauren's face drained of color, her phone slipping from her hand to clatter on the marble floor. Ethan muttered, "That's the Keanu Reeves," his Rolex suddenly feeling heavier on his wrist. Mia Torres, the Latina caterer, who had suspected Keanu's identity, beamed from the sidelines, whispering to her colleague, "I knew it. That's the guy who funded the hospital wing." Her pride radiated, a quiet vindication. Jake Nguyen, the teenage guest in his ill-fitting rented suit, stood first, tears glistening in his eyes as he clapped. His applause a solitary spark that ignited a reluctant wave from the crowd. Their hands moved hesitantly, shame replacing their earlier smirks. Keanu, standing calmly under the spotlight, spoke in a voice soft but unyielding. "I came to see how we treat those we think are beneath us," he said, his eyes sweeping the room, resting briefly on Lauren. "You showed me your truth tonight, judging a jacket, not a heart, but truth can change if you choose it." Each word landed like a stone, heavy with wisdom, devoid of anger. The 50-acre vineyard beyond the windows seemed to hold its breath, the moonlight casting Keanu's silhouette against the glass. Lauren stood frozen, her earlier confidence shattered, her entourage silent. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, his bravado reduced to a mumble. Jake, inspired by Keanu's calm, felt a surge of resolve, his own sense of being an outsider now a badge of courage. Mia nodded to herself, her tray steady as she whispered, "He's more than they'll ever be." The dining hall, once pulsing with arrogance, felt hollow, its opulence, $15,000-a-plate dinners, jazz drifting from a live band, exposed as a fragile facade. Keanu stepped back from the podium, his gaze lingering on the crowd, not with judgment, but with a quiet hope that they might see beyond the surface. The revelation, tied to his $5 million pledge and personal loss, hung in the air, a mirror reflecting the crowd's flaws and the possibility of redemption, setting the stage for a reckoning that would ripple far beyond the Napa Valley night. The Napa Valley Gala's grandeur lingered in the 15,000-square-foot mansion's dining hall, but the air, now a crisp 68 degrees, felt heavy with unspoken shame. The chandeliers still sparkled, casting flecks of light across gold-trimmed plates and half-empty glasses of 300-a-bottle Napa Valley Cabernet. Yet the mood had shifted. The revelation of Keanu Reeves as the anonymous donor of $5 million for pediatric cancer research, tied to the memory of a childhood friend, had stripped the room of its earlier arrogance. The 100-acre estate's vineyard, stretching into the moonlit night, seemed to whisper a truth the guests could no longer ignore. Lauren Prescott, her emerald-green Versace gown, now a weight rather than a crown, stood frozen near her table, her 2 million TikTok followers forgotten as her dropped phone lay cracked on the marble floor. Shaken, she scanned the room for Keanu, her earlier smirk replaced by a pang of regret. She approached his corner table, ready to stammer an apology, but found only his empty chair and canvas backpack. Keanu had slipped away, leaving behind a folded note on the linen tablecloth, written in his steady hand. "Fame fades, wealth wanes, but kindness endures. Choose it. K.R." Lauren's hands trembled as she read the words, each one a mirror reflecting her shallow taunts. The crowd, once her audience, now avoided her gaze, their silence louder than the jazz band's fading notes. Ethan Cole, the hedge fund manager, sat slumped, his Rolex dulled by the weight of his own mockery. Across the room, Mia Torres, the Latina caterer, shared Keanu's story with her colleagues, her voice steady with pride. "He didn't need a spotlight to shine," she said, her tray of Maine lobster canapes steady as she recounted his quiet dignity. Meanwhile, Jake Nguyen, the teenage guest in his rented suit, felt a spark ignite within him. Keanu's words, "Truth can change if you choose it," echoed in his mind, a call to action for a boy who knew the sting of being overlooked. The dining hall, its 5,000-square-foot expanse once a stage for cruelty, now felt like a classroom, its lesson carved in silence. Days later, The ripple effect of Keanu's presence spread beyond the vineyard's 50-acre expanse. Lauren, her confidence shattered, posted a viral apology video on TikTok. Her usual filters absent, her voice raw. "I judged a man by his clothes, not his heart," she admitted, pledging to volunteer at a children's hospital in San Francisco. The post, viewed by millions, marked a shift, her followers trading snark for support. Jake, inspired by Keanu's calm resolve, launched a Kindness First campaign at his Oakland high school, encouraging students to share stories of empathy on social media. The campaign trended with "Dokern Kindness First," its hashtag, a beacon in a digital world often clouded by judgment. A local news outlet picked up the story, noting how a single night in Napa had sparked a movement among Gen Z, proving that one man's dignity could reshape a community. Keanu, true to his nature, had left the gala unnoticed, slipping into his Subaru Outback as the Napa Hills glowed under a starlit sky. He drove past the vineyard's rolling 50 acres, his gaze fixed on the horizon, untouched by the chaos he'd left behind. Not chaos of anger, but of truth. Mia, watching from the staff entrance, whispered to a colleague, "He's the kind of person we should all try to be." The mansion's opulence, its marble floors, $15,000-a-plate dinners, and glittering chandeliers, faded in comparison to Keanu's quiet exit, a testament to a man who needed no applause to affirm his worth. His note to Lauren and his words to the crowd lingered, a gentle challenge to a world obsessed with appearances. As the gala's echoes faded, Keanu's lesson took root, a reminder that in America's heartland of ambition, kindness, not wealth, builds a legacy that endures. As the Napa Valley Gala drew to a close, the 15,000-square-foot mansion's grand dining hall felt transformed. Its opulence, chandeliers casting prisms across gold-trimmed plates, 300-a-bottle Napa Valley Cabernet gleaming in crystal glasses, rendered hollow against the quiet dignity of Keanu Reeves. The air, now a cool 65-degree force, carried the faint scent of jasmine from the 100-acre estate's gardens, but the atmosphere inside was heavier, weighted with reflection. The guests, once a chorus of laughter and self-assured banter, spoke in hushed tones, their eyes darting to empty spaces where their confidence had once stood. Keanu's revelation as the anonymous donor of $5 million for pediatric cancer research, tied to the memory of a childhood friend, had shattered the illusion of their curated world. The 5,000-square-foot hall, once a stage for mockery led by Lauren Prescott and Ethan Cole, now felt like a mirror, reflecting not wealth, but the fragility of judgment based on appearances. Guests sipped their wine cautiously, their earlier bravado replaced by introspection, as if Keanu's words, "Truth can change if you choose it," had carved a new path through their hearts. Outside, the 50-acre vineyard stretched into the starlit night, its rows of Pinot Noir grapes a silent witness to the evening's reckoning. Lauren, her emerald-green Versace gown no longer a symbol of triumph, sat alone, clutching Keanu's note, "Fame fades, wealth wanes, but kindness endures. Choose it." KR. Her TikTok empire, with its 2 million followers, felt insignificant against the weight of her shame. Ethan, his Rolex now a reminder of his hollow taunts, avoided conversation, his usual swagger reduced to a fidgeting hand in his pocket. Mia Torres, the Latina caterer, moved through the crowd with quiet pride, whispering to her colleagues, "He showed them what real strength looks like." Jake Nguyen, the teenage guest in his rented suit, stood taller, his tears from the auction replaced by a resolve to carry Keanu's lesson forward. The gala continued, but its rhythm had shifted. No longer a celebration of status, but a quiet confrontation with character. The impact of that night rippled far beyond the Napa Valley's rolling hills. A journalist, moved by Keanu's speech, posted a viral clip on X, captioned, "Money buys a mansion, but only heart builds a legacy." The video, showing Keanu in his denim jacket under the spotlight, spread across America's social media landscape, amassing millions of views and comments like, "This is why we love Keanu," and "Time to rethink how we judge." In a small Napa bookstore, nestled among the vineyard's 50 acres, a handwritten sign appeared in the window, quoting Keanu, "Dignity isn't in what you wear, it's in how you lift others up." The quote, scrawled in delicate ink, became a local mantra shared by baristas, teachers, and tourists, a reminder that true worth lies in actions, not appearances. Jake's Kindness First campaign, born from Keanu's calm resolve, grew from his Oakland high school into a national movement. Students across the U.S. shared stories of empathy on social media with Kindness First, from helping a classmate to volunteering at shelters. The campaign's reach, amplified by America's digital culture, proved that kindness could outshine wealth, a lesson rooted in Keanu's quiet stand. Lauren, too, transformed her shame into action, her viral apology video, raw and unfiltered, vowing to volunteer at a San Francisco children's hospital. Her followers, once quick to mock, now praised her growth, proving redemption is possible when hearts shift. These outcomes, tangible and inspiring, showed that Keanu's presence had planted seeds of change far beyond the original story's fleeting ripples. The lessons of that night were profound, each one a thread in the fabric of American values: fairness, redemption, and community. First, Keanu taught that dignity is a choice, not a purchase, a reminder that in a world obsessed with status, true worth lies in how we treat the overlooked. Second, he showed that silence can speak louder than wealth, his calm exposing the fragility of arrogance. Third, his actions proved that one person's truth can spark a movement, as Jake's campaign and Lauren's redemption demonstrated. In a society quick to judge, the story challenges us. Next time you meet a stranger, will you mock their jacket or seek their story? This call to action, rooted in personal accountability, urges us to look beyond appearances, to choose kindness over cruelty, and to build legacies, not with money, but with heart. To you, our audience, thank you for joining us on this journey through Napa's vineyards, where one man's humility reshaped a room of egos. Your support, your likes, comments, and shares bring stories like this to life, reminding us all that compassion transcends borders. If Keanu's lesson moved you, drop a 2 in the comments to let us know you're with us, and share where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tales of heart and humanity, because in a world of fleeting fame, it's the quiet truths that endure. Let's keep choosing kindness together.